Hey board gamers, welcome to this 5-minute tutorial for how to play the Settlers of Catan. It's a 3 to 4 player well-known board game that should take about 1 hour to play. So let's get started. In the game, players build roads, settlements, and cities as they compete for territorial dominance on the island of Catan. As the game progresses, players earn victory points by building structures and/or achieving certain side objectives. As soon as a player reaches 10 victory points, the game ends immediately, and that player wins. To start, each player chooses a color and separates out their structure pieces into the 3 types: roads, worth 0 victory points, cities, worth 2 victory points, and settlements, worth 1 victory point. They also receive a building cost card which shows the resources required to build each of the structures. Separate out the resource cards and the terrain tiles which produce them. Pastures produce sheep, forests produce wood, mountains produce stone, clay pits produce brick, fields produce wheat, and deserts produce nothing. Set up the board by connecting the water tiles by the corresponding numbers on their puzzle piece edges. Then distribute the terrain tiles and number tokens as displayed in the rulebook or quick start guide. The number tokens represent possible dice rolls, and the more dots at the bottom of the token means the roll occurs at a higher probability. To continue setup, each player rolls a dice to determine the turn order. Then the player with the highest roll places their first starting settlement. Settlements are to be placed at the intersections between terrain tiles, and they allow the player to collect 1 resource from those tiles if their respective number token is rolled during gameplay. After a starting settlement is placed, that player also plays a road, which are always on the edges of the terrain tiles. Then the other players place their starting settlements in clockwise order. Note that no settlement at any point in the game can be placed closer than 2 road lengths distance to another settlement, regardless of that settlement's owner. Players then rotate back in a snake fashion, placing a second starting settlement and road. After placement of 2 settlements for each player are complete, all players collect 1 resource from each terrain tile bordering their second starting settlement. Finally, place the robber on the desert tile, and you're ready to start the game. Players rotate clockwise, taking turns until the game ends. On your turn, roll the dice, and all players collect resources from any terrain tile with the corresponding dice roll. Then, the player whose turn it is has an opportunity to build structures from the building costs card using the resource cards in their hand. As they build, they may propose trades to other players for resources. Proposed trades can only involve resource cards. If no player is willing to trade, the player may trade with the bank 4 of any one resource for 1 of a different type of resource. If a player has a settlement bordering a port, they may also use that port's ability to trade more favorably with the bank. After the players finish building, they pass the dice to the next player. If a 7 is rolled, all players who have more than 7 cards in their hand must discard half their cards, rounded down. Then, the player whose turn it is places the robber token on a terrain tile. That blocks that tile from producing resources for any players until the robber is moved. The player then may steal a resource card at random from one of the players who owns a settlement adjacent to the targeted tile. In addition to roads and settlements, players may construct cities which are worth 2 victory points and must replace an existing settlement. Cities allow the player to collect 2 resources from any adjacent tile whose number token is rolled, instead of the 1 provided by a regular settlement. After the game has started, players must connect all future structures to their starting settlements via their roads. Roads cannot be built through other players' settlements. If a player's continuous road reaches 5 in length, they receive the longest road achievement. That's worth 2 victory points. But beware, another player whose road overtakes the first player's in length can steal the longest road achievement. Note that if a player builds a settlement in the middle of an opponent's road, that road is no longer considered continuous. Development cards can be purchased like other structures and have special abilities, but cannot be played until the turn after they're bought. If a player plays 3 knight development cards, they take the largest army achievement, worth 2 victory points. This achievement, like longest road, can later be stolen by a player who plays more knight cards. Some development cards are worth victory points and are usually kept face down so opponents don't know that you are in fact closer to victory. Now you know how to play the Settlers of Catan. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe below for more board game videos.